Yeah, so Abune Antonios, he fought a long battle, like, in back, so in Eritrea, where he was, he got anointed to be the patriarch for our church by
Pope
Pope
Shenouda.
Pope Shnoda. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he was anointed. He went through the process, of all that. And then I guess, in our country, there is a dictatorship going on where, I don't know, for some reason, the president just was like, he has to be under house arrest. Not sure
Yeah.
why. Well, do you know why?
Really just for control. Like I asked my dad earlier about it, and he's always been like, you never really know. Because I asked him like before the schism happened, like how did it lead up to it? And he was just talking about how like the government always has some kind of hidden agenda. There's a like a really long backstory to it, but
Yeah.
I feel like the government like back home, I think just wants to control
Yeah.
everything, and especially like the Orthodox Church, because maybe it's just like maybe because it's very powerful. I don't know, or it's big. I don't know. I'm not sure why it is that he wanted to kind of control the church, but um, he was definitely like interfering with the church, and Abune Antonios kind of spoke up on that and was like, church and state, like you should this should not interfere. Um, and for that reason and like other compounding reasons, the government like kind of like unlawfully put Abune Antonios the patriarch under house arrest for 16 years. Um, it was in 2006 in January, all the way up until 2022. And that was only simply because Abune Antonios had passed away in February. Um, may God repose his soul. But yeah, it was a really long battle. And from that, that was why all of the schisms, like I would say we have a schism in the EOTC, like definitely like there's a schism. And because of that reason, there's just all the churches in North America just split.
Yeah,
Mm.
because after, well, this the crazy part is while Ambon Antonis was still alive and well in his house during his house arrest, the government decided to elect a new patriarch for the EOTC. And
This
for
was in 2021 or 22, I think. I don't know, very recent.
very recent years. And for our church, we were like, obviously, we're not going to accept or, declare this new patriarch because, again, like falling to the dogma of like the orthodoxy too. Like, you can't have two patriarchs at the same time. One has to either die and the other one, will be taking that place. But the fact that the new one was elected by the government, some of
Yeah,
the,
exactly.
yeah, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say elected by the government, not even elected. Like Abuna Antonios had told the synod, like the group of bishops, like you're don't elect a new patriarch. That's literally what he said, and they went against his word, against the patriarch's word, and kind of just did their own thing. And it's
Mm.
really because the government is kind of I probably controlling them. I don't know, but it was the government who kind of instituted this new patriarch, and so like now in North America, you have different churches kind of
EOTC.
one supports Abuna Antonios, the other doesn't support Abuna Antonios, and it supports the new patriarch. And
How do you know? How do you know which church is in which camp?
you just
Like if
know
you,
just
yeah.
from
It's just like,
like growing up, you'll know, like you'll hear the names, like you'll know the names, just like culturally you'll know it, but also
the
um
ones that do have Abundantones, like who supported him, we usually, like, for example, our retreats that we do have is open for everybody, but typically the churches that we design it with, they usually are like, oh yeah, we supported Abundantones. And like, for example, when you go into our church, you'll see a photo of him there because we respect him, whereas in another church we don't respect him or even honored him in any way, like they wouldn't have a photo of him at all.
and
Well, is it
also
that they
yeah,
don't honor him and respect him, or they're just like, well, we just got to move on, and this is how it is?
no, it's
Like,
definitely
do
they
they actually think like he's not a righteous man?
definitely like that's the actual
Oh,
thinking, like they
really?
don't. Yeah.
Do you know what's their reason? Because my understanding of like
Mhm.
what precipitated him being exiled was the government asked him basically to excommunicate a bunch of people, and he was like, "No, I'm not doing that. Like, mind your business." Um, I don't know if that's accurate or not, but maybe that's one of the major interferences that they were trying to do, and he was just standing up against them.
Yeah.
Um, Oh, so they actually think he's not a righteous man, not just like, well, it's been
Yeah.
16 years, let's move on.
No, yeah. The majority, like, I think the main, like, ideology that a lot of people have is, like, I don't know. Yeah, he's not a righteous man or whatever it is.
Mm.
Yeah.
Is there any efforts or anyone working to, like, heal that divide? Or
I think there is. It's just a matter of talking. Like, our church, we're in support of Abune Antonios and have always been. And I'll talk about it with my dad sometimes, and he says, like, we can't move on until, like, other churches want to heal it. Like, we're way more willing to move forward, and that's what we want to do. We want to move forward, but a lot of the churches, like, we can't move forward until we can bring the whole church together. And I know a lot of the other churches don't want to, I guess, recognize Abune Antonios, or they might want to move forward, like, as a church, but they can't do that unless they recognize him as patriarch. And I think that's the obstacle.
I mean, would the Abune Antonios followers, if that's like a way to phrase it, would they, if the other side, and I even hate to use that kind of terminology, if they were to, like, okay, he was a righteous man, may God repose his soul, and we'll commemorate him in every liturgy. If they were to agree to that, would you guys be like, okay, great, we'll now follow this patriarch, or like, no, this patriarch is illegitimate and we have to have a new person anointed?
Yeah, that's what it is right now. Actually, you said it perfectly. Like, we don't recognize him. It's yeah, like, he's illegitimate. I don't know what it would be like once we, like, if we come together. I don't know how it would work, but as of right now, I know we don't recognize him.
Is it 50-50 the split, or is one side bigger than the other?
So you think the other side? I think I would say, like, the people that don't support Abune Antonios, I would say they're bigger, right?
Yeah, I want to say that.
There's been a lot of other people, though, that have been, like, changing kind of, like, their way of thinking, and, like, have, like, seen that, like, oh, Abune Antonios is actually, like, the patriarch. Like, I would say, like our church, for example, we've definitely grown in numbers, and other churches across North America, but I would say primarily it was the churches that don't support it. And even, like, not to get into the politics of it, but, like, because, like, once I don't know if I should start with the whole story, but I guess in North America, like, the way it actually started, like, the actual schism, was because, like, the government sent a couple of bishops to North America, and according, like, this is what my dad was saying, but according to, like, the EOTC canon, if a bishop is going to come to another country or continent, I guess, I don't know, for more than 15 days, like, if he's going to stay in that country, he needs to have, like, a letter from, like, written by the patriarch, kind of, like, permitting him to go, and kind of, like, letting the congregation know in North America, like, yes, I'm sending these bishops here, please accept them, kind of thing. And so the bishops came, and they didn't have that letter. And so, like, one of the people, like my dad specifically, kind of said, like, oh, well, you can't be here if you don't have this letter. And they made sure to check with Abune Antonios. Like, they, like, lettered him back asking if Abune Antonios was the one who sent them. And Abune Antonios said, no, it wasn't me. And so it was the government. And for that reason, like, my dad kind of stood up against that. And it was literally at that moment when, at least in Oakland, that was when the church split.
Wow.
And so I kind of bring on that point to say that, like, we were definitely way, way, way low in numbers. Like, when my dad and, like, a couple other board members, like, it was like 5 or 6 or 7 of them that kind of split from that. And, like, we literally, like, it was from then that, like, we kind of grew in numbers. But
how old were you at that time?
I was like 3, 2.
Oh, okay. So you didn't know.
I don't remember, but I think I was there. I think my mom was holding me. Yeah, no.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's a divide within the Eritrean church.
Yeah.
There's a divide among Eritreans and Ethiopians. What's the solution, guys? Is it grassroots? Is it going to have to be from the top? A little both? Do you see a path forward? Is that something you think about? Pick a question.
Honestly, I hope and pray we do see change, because we're so stagnant to the point I'm like, oh, we need to see change, at least from, like, the page. Like, obviously, like, the church, like, majority doesn't support the new patriarch that's been elected, but we also can't live forever without a patriarch too, you know? Like it's just really like a matter of like I don't know, like I feel like a lot of these leaders are blinded by pride, and it's like again, that's like one of the biggest like in the Bible warns us like pride is like the root of all evil, and I definitely do see how that's so evident because I think everyone is so stuck in the fact that they're right, we're not going to move forward,
Exactly.
like and just blinded by pride, and like they don't understand like you're not only affecting like the church in North America, but within the countries too. Like no one's like growing